Hey, English learners. Welcome back to the English Leap podcast, your cozy little place to learn easy English through real, everyday conversations. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. And today we're exploring the quiet strengths that can shape your whole life.
Yes, not the kind of strength that tries to impress everyone in 5 seconds.
Right. We're talking about the quieter kind. The kind that people may not notice immediately, but the kind that can change your whole life.
The kind that helps you stay on your feet when life feels heavy. The kind that helps you keep going, even when nobody claps for you.
Ooh, yes. Because sometimes people think a superpower has to look big, flashy, dramatic, like confidence in every room, talent in every moment, the perfect answer at the perfect time.
But real life is usually not like that.
Exactly. Sometimes your real superpower is the way you survive hard seasons. Sometimes it is your discipline. Sometimes it is your patience. Sometimes it is your ability to listen, really listen, when everyone else is just waiting for their turn to speak.
Yes, and I really love this topic because it makes you stop and think. Maybe strength is not always loud. Maybe it is quiet. Maybe it is steady. Maybe it is deeply human.
So, no superhero costume today?
No cape, no flying, no laser eyes.
Sadly, no.
Sadly, no. Just real strengths, the kind that shape your character, protect your future, and quietly make you stronger over time.
And honestly, I think a lot of people already have these strengths, but they do not see them because they're looking for something more obvious.
Yes, they think, oh, I'm not the smartest person, I'm not the most confident person, I'm not the most talented person. But maybe their real power is something deeper.
Maybe it is consistency. Maybe it is self-awareness. Maybe it is emotional control. Maybe it is the strength to begin again after disappointment.
That one is powerful. The strength to begin again.
It really is.
So, in today's episode, we're exploring the quiet superpowers that actually matter. The ones that help you grow from the inside out.
And before we go deeper, if you enjoy learning English through real conversations like this, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who would enjoy it too.
And this is a B2 level episode, so please relax. You do not need to understand every single word. Just listen, enjoy the conversation, and let your English grow naturally.
And later in the episode, we'll have our word tour, where we go back through some useful words, idioms, and phrasal verbs from today's discussion in a simple, clear way.
So stay with us for that because there are some really good ones in today's episode.
And before we begin, tell us in the comments, what do you think your real superpower is?
It can be something quiet.
Maybe staying calm, maybe listening well, maybe being patient, maybe getting back up when life knocks you down.
Yes, that last one, that's a real superpower.
It really is.
All right, let's begin with the first one.
Sometimes the strength that changes you most begins in struggle.
And that sounds strange at first, right? Because nobody wakes up and says, you know what I want today? A difficult season.
No, nobody orders pain like coffee.
Right. We do not want struggle. We do not romanticize it. We are not saying pain is beautiful just because it is pain.
But we are saying that struggle can do something to you. It can deepen you. It can slow you down. It can teach you what really matters.
Yes, sometimes struggle takes away the fake things first. The image, the ego, the need to always look fine. And then what is left?
The real you.
The real you. The stronger you. The more honest you.
I think hard seasons can make a person more steadfast.
Yes. Steadfast means strong and steady, especially during difficulty. Not perfect, not fearless, just firm.
And I really love that word because it does not sound dramatic. It sounds quiet, like someone who has been tested and did not disappear.
And a lot of people listening probably know that feeling. Maybe they went through disappointment, maybe they lost something, maybe life did not go the way they expected, but somehow they're still here.
And that matters a lot.
Because after some struggles, you do not become louder. You become deeper. You speak with more care. You judge less. You understand people more.
Yes, you learn how to weather the storm.
Weather the storm. That means survive a difficult time without falling apart completely. You are still shaken, maybe, but you keep going.
Right. And I think that is one of the most human superpowers of all. Not shining all the time, not winning all the time, but staying with yourself through the storm.
Staying with yourself. I love that.
Because some struggles do not just test your strength, they test your relationship with yourself.
Yes. Do you turn against yourself, or do you learn to sit with yourself, encourage yourself, carry yourself through it?
And honestly, some of the kindest people I know are people who have suffered a little, not because suffering automatically makes you wise, but because it can break your illusions.
It can make you softer in the right way.
Softer, but not weaker.
Yes, softer but clearer, kinder but stronger.
Basically, life punches you a bit, and suddenly you stop arguing about silly things.
That is painfully true.
It is. Your priorities change. Your perspective changes. Even your patience changes.
And that's why struggle can become a superpower, not because it feels good, but because it can build depth, resilience, and perspective.
And that leads so naturally to the next quiet strength, because after struggle teaches you something, what really changes your life is often what you do again and again and again.
Yes, let's talk about consistency.
Because people often praise intensity. They love big moments, big speeches, big motivation, big energy for 3 days.
And then, silence.
Total silence. The gym bag is in the corner. The notebook is closed. The new life starts next Monday.
Yes, but real change is usually quieter than that.
It really is. Consistency is not exciting every day. Sometimes it looks very ordinary.
It is answering the email, taking the walk, practicing the English, saving a little money, going to bed on time, coming back to the habit even when you do not feel inspired.
That is why I think consistency is a quiet superpower, because small repeated effort changes more than random bursts of motivation.
Yes, motivation is lovely, but it's moody.
Very moody.
It shows up beautifully one day, then disappears without explanation.
But consistency knows how to hold steady.
Yes, hold steady means stay stable and keep going without swinging all over the place.
And wow, that is powerful. Especially now when everything around us pushes us to react fast, switch fast, quit fast, compare fast.
Yes, we live in a very distracted world, so the ability to keep showing up for something quietly, that's rare.
And consistency also builds trust.
That is so true. You trust yourself more when you keep promises to yourself.
Right, because every time you say, I'll do it, and then do it, even in a small way, your mind learns, oh, I can rely on myself.
And that changes your confidence in a deeper way. Not fake confidence. Evidence-based confidence.
Yes, not, I am amazing because I said so, more like, I have proof. I keep coming back.
Exactly.
And I think that matters for English learners too. People want a huge improvement in 1 week, but language grows through repetition, small contact, daily use, real patience.
A little every day can take you very far.
So if struggle gives you depth, consistency gives you shape. It builds something, quietly, brick by brick.
And once you start building that kind of stability, you need something else to protect it.
Discipline.
Ooh, there it is. The word people respect and avoid.
Yes, everybody likes the result of discipline. Not everybody likes the feeling of discipline.
Because discipline is not always exciting. Sometimes discipline is just saying no to your current mood.
And that is why discipline protects your future self. It stops your temporary emotions from making permanent damage.
Yes. Discipline is what helps you do the healthy thing when the easy thing is calling your name very sweetly.
Come on, scroll for 3 more hours.
You can start tomorrow.
We know that voice.
Too well.
And real discipline often looks like restraint.
Yes. Restraint means controlling yourself and not doing something just because you feel like it in the moment.
That is such an important idea, because people often imagine discipline as some big, heroic action. But many times, discipline is simply what you do not do.
Not sending the angry message. Not buying the thing you cannot afford. Not quitting too early. Not speaking just because your ego wants the last word.
That last one is a life skill.
A serious one.
And when things get emotional, you also need to keep your head.
Yes, that means stay calm and think clearly under pressure.
Because life will test you. Work stress, family stress, money stress, uncertainty, bad moods, misunderstandings. And in those moments, discipline is not just about routine, it is about mental steadiness.
Right. The ability to pause before reacting can save relationships, money, time, and peace.
And I think that is why discipline is love in a serious form.
Whoa, say that again.
Discipline is love in a serious form. It is how you care for your future self before that future arrives.
That is beautiful, because it changes the feeling of the word. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection.
Protection, yes.
And life becomes even more interesting when the plan changes anyway.
Which it always does. Because life loves surprise.
It really does.
And that brings us to another modern superpower, adaptability.
Yes. This one matters so much now because the world changes fast. Technology changes, jobs change, people change, plans change. Even your own identity can change.
Right. So the question is not, can I control everything? Because you cannot. The real question is, can I adjust without falling apart?
And that is hard. Very hard sometimes.
It is, but adaptable people do something powerful. They accept reality faster, not because they like every change, but because they understand that fighting reality wastes energy.
Yes. They still feel disappointment. They still feel fear, but they do not stay frozen for too long.
And one thing that helps a lot here is composure.
Yes. Composure means a calm, controlled way of behaving, especially in a difficult moment.
I love that word because adaptability is not chaos. It is not panic with a smile. It is calm adjustment.
Panic with a smile is such a funny picture.
Everything is fine while the room is emotionally on fire.
Oh no.
But seriously, composure gives you space to think. And that space helps you adapt.
Because when something changes suddenly, the first reaction is often emotional. No, why? This is unfair. I cannot do this.
Yes, very human reactions.
Completely human. But if you can breathe, settle, and meet the moment with composure, you can ask a better question.
Okay, this is happening. Now how do I move with it?
That question changes everything.
It really does. Adaptability is not giving up yourself. It is updating yourself.
And that matters. Updating yourself. Beautiful.
And the people who adapt well are often strong in another area too.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes, the hidden superpower.
Because people often think intelligence is just logic, facts, and fast thinking. But emotional intelligence changes your daily life in a huge way.
It helps you understand what you are feeling, why you are reacting, what other people may be carrying, and what the room feels like emotionally.
That kind of awareness can save conversations before they become disasters.
Which is useful because some conversations are one sentence away from becoming documentaries.
That is true.
And emotionally intelligent people are often very intuitive.
Yes, intuitive means able to understand something quickly, almost naturally, without needing every detail explained.
So maybe nobody says, "I'm upset," but you can feel it. You can hear it in the silence, in the tone, in the face, in the pause.
Yes, you pick up on those signals.
Exactly. Pick up on means notice or understand something subtle that is not said directly.
And wow, that matters so much because people are not always direct. Sometimes they say, "I'm fine," but their eyes say, "Please ask me again."
Yes. Or at work, maybe someone says, "No problem," but the energy says, "This is definitely a problem."
Very true.
Emotional intelligence also helps you manage yourself, not just read others.
Yes, you notice, "I am tired, so I am reacting more sharply," or "I am hurt, so I am becoming defensive." That pause can stop so much damage.
And I think confidence grows there too, because when you understand your emotional patterns, you don't feel controlled by them all the time.
That leads perfectly into self-awareness.
Yes, because emotional intelligence is about emotions in motion, but self-awareness is broader. It is your deeper understanding of your patterns, habits, fears, strengths, and blind spots.
And honestly, self-awareness changes everything.
It really does, because when you do not know yourself, you keep fighting the wrong battles.
You blame laziness, but maybe the real issue is fear. You blame other people, but maybe the real issue is your own communication. You call yourself weak, but maybe you are just exhausted.
Yes, self-awareness gives you discernment.
Discernment means the ability to judge well and see things clearly, to notice what is helping you and what is harming you.
And that is powerful because once you can see clearly, you stop moving blindly.
You start noticing patterns. I say yes when I mean no. I shut down when I feel criticized. I procrastinate when something matters too much to me. I pretend I'm confused when I'm actually scared.
Oof, those are real.
Very real.
But self-awareness is not there to shame you. It is there to guide you.
Yes, it is not a mirror for self-hate. It is a mirror for honest growth.
And I think that is one of the most freeing things in life. When you finally understand your own wiring a little better, you stop thinking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What do I need? What do I keep repeating? What can I change?"
Yes, that question is full of power.
And when you understand yourself better, you also become better at understanding others.
Which brings us to one of the most underrated superpowers of all.
Active listening.
In a world full of noise, this one feels rare.
Because many people hear words, very few truly listen.
Yes. Some people are already preparing their answer while the other person is still speaking.
They are not in the conversation. They're in a mental waiting room.
That is such a good way to say it.
But active listening is different. It is presence. It is patience. It is curiosity. It is respect.
And it is emotional intelligence in action, really. You pick up on what someone means, not just what they say.
Yes. You notice the hesitation, the tone, the energy, the thing behind the sentence.
And when someone feels truly heard, wow, that changes everything.
It does. People open up. Trust grows. Defensiveness drops. Even conflict becomes easier to handle.
Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is not a brilliant sentence. Sometimes it is a sincere, quiet, "I understand."
Or, "Tell me more."
Or even just giving someone your full attention for 1 minute.
That is why active listening is social power, but in a very human form. Not manipulation, not performance, real connection.
And honestly, good listeners often feel safe to be around.
Yes, because they are not trying to dominate the room. They bring composure. They stay curious. They don't rush to judge.
And maybe that's the quiet message of this whole episode.
That real power is often quieter than people think.
Yes, and I think that's what made today's episode feel so special. We were not talking about loud success. We were talking about the kind of strength that lives inside a person.
The kind you can miss if you only look at appearances.
Exactly. So before we finish, let's slow things down a little and go into our word tour.
Yes, let's go back through some of the beautiful words and phrases from today's conversation, because they don't just sound good, they're also very useful in real life.
And the first one fits this episode perfectly.
Let's begin with the word steadfast.
Steadfast means strong, loyal, and steady, especially during something difficult.
For example, she stayed steadfast even during one of the hardest years of her life.
Or, his values remained steadfast, even when people around him changed.
Repeat, steadfast.
Steadfast. Next is the idiom, weather the storm.
If you weather the storm, you survive a difficult situation and keep going through it.
For example, their family went through a difficult season, but they managed to weather the storm together.
Or, she learned how to weather the storm without losing herself. Repeat, weather the storm.
Weather the storm. Next is the phrasal verb, hold steady.
Hold steady means stay stable, calm, or consistent without changing too much.
For example, even when progress felt slow, he decided to hold steady.
Or, her emotions were strong, but she tried to hold steady and think clearly. Repeat, hold steady.
Hold steady. Now let's look at restraint.
Restraint means self-control. It is the ability to stop yourself from saying or doing something impulsive.
For example, it took real restraint not to reply in anger.
Or, good discipline often looks like quiet restraint. Repeat, restraint.
Restraint. Next is the idiom, keep your head.
If you keep your head, you stay calm and think clearly in a stressful situation.
For example, everyone else panicked, but she kept her head.
Or, it is easier to solve problems when you keep your head. Repeat, keep your head.
Keep your head. Next is composure.
Composure means a calm and controlled way of behaving, especially when something is difficult or emotional.
For example, he answered the criticism with surprising composure.
Or, she lost her plan, but not her composure. Repeat, composure.
Composure. Next is intuitive.
Intuitive means understanding something naturally and quickly without needing a long explanation.
For example, she is very intuitive and notices when someone feels uncomfortable.
Or, for him, listening well felt intuitive. Repeat, intuitive.
Intuitive. Now the phrasal verb pick up on.
Pick up on means notice or understand something subtle, especially something that is not said directly.
For example, he quickly picked up on her change in tone.
Or, good listeners pick up on small emotional signals. Repeat, pick up on.
Pick up on. And our last word is discernment.
Discernment means the ability to judge well and clearly understand what is right, useful, or true.
For example, self-awareness gave her more discernment in relationships.
Or, with time, he developed the discernment to know what deserved his energy. Repeat, discernment.
Discernment.
Ah, those were some amazing words we explored today.
They really were. And maybe that is the heart of today's episode. Real strength is often quieter than people think.
Yes. So take a moment and ask yourself, what quiet strength has been carrying you lately?
And if this episode spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who might need it too.
Take care of your English.
And take care of your heart. This is Anna.
And this is Jake.
And you've been listening to the English Leap podcast. Bye!